Chat. My name is Molly. I have been thinking about this topic for a while, and for me, after going through a miscarriage, if you don't know, I went through a missed miscarriage and I passed our baby naturally. Our baby was around 9 weeks when it happened. After going through that, thinking about getting pregnant again, I learned a lot through that process, and there's a lot that I want to do differently now. Anyone with a miscarriage could tell you that you just don't look at pregnancy the same. So I really wanted to do this because kind of to keep myself accountable and to also encourage those out there who are also trying for another pregnancy after loss. Now that more time has gone by since we found out about the miscarriage, we found out about the miscarriage April 22nd, and it's actually almost been exactly 4 months now. I really am starting to feel hopeful and excited, and I know that once I get pregnant again, I could possibly feel a lot different and a lot of stress and anxiety again. But while I'm still in this state, I want to prepare myself for how I want to approach this next pregnancy. If the worst happens again, I want to be able to say that I did these things. I really don't want a miscarriage to rob me twice. I don't want it to rob me in the pregnancy, and then when it happens, I might not agree with these things once I'm pregnant again, but these are things in this state right now that I want my pregnancy to look like and feel like. Let's just jump right in. I wanted to take one test. The test that I decided to take, so I already did this, I decided to take a progesterone test. And once you have a miscarriage, they really don't start testing you or thinking anything's wrong until your third miscarriage, which is crazy to me. For me personally and AJ, we decided that we would take one test just because I would feel so bad if, not like we let our miscarriage go to waste, but I wanted to use it to be like, okay, if I don't want to let this happen again, obviously, and if there's anything, even something small we can do to possibly prevent it, I wanted to try and do that. We decided to get my progesterone tested. I've read, that a lot of people wish they would have gotten that tested sooner, that, that can be a big cause for a lot of miscarriages. I just would have hated to move forward without knowing like where my levels were with that. Like if it could have just been a simple fix of like, oh, I just take progesterone supplements or I just take a progesterone cream. We got mine tested. Thank God it's normal. I actually wasn't really expecting it to come back normal because my cycles are super long, but I don't know if they're technically abnormally long. I don't know, and I just think I kept assuming the worst. And so to get a normal result was really, I didn't think I'd be so relieved by it, and now it gives me more confidence trying again. The next thing I want to do in the next pregnancy is for AJ and I to take our pregnancy test together. When we first got pregnant, I really wanted to surprise him, and I wanted to take the test myself and have my own like private reaction and then be able to tell him the news that he was going to be a dad. I love that, for our first pregnancy. I think, that's just what we decided to do then, but for this one, I really want to do it together. The less secrets, the better. I just want us to know together and me not having to feel like I need to tell him at the perfect time. AJ felt really strongly about that too. I think after going through the miscarriage, we just feel even more united in trying again and getting through the next pregnancy together, so it just feels right to share in that moment of getting pregnant again. I also am going to be telling my friends and family super early. This was something that we did with our first pregnancy, our first baby. We told everyone like right away, very early. Even though it ended in a miscarriage, we always said we never regretted that. We don't regret that at all. Plus, by the time we miscarried, we were almost out of the first trimester. I, again, don't do well with secrets. In my opinion, people are gonna know in the end, our close family and friends, that we went through a miscarriage anyway, so they might as well know about the pregnancy. We need their support, we need their prayers, especially now. Like we needed it then when we first got pregnant, but now we really need the support and prayers. We definitely are going to be telling people in a different way, I think. I don't know how I feel about recording things and making it super special. I think that kind of is like hard for me still. Since the first one, we put so much effort and time into like recording people's reactions, trying to make it special, and then it just ended. It's hard to think about doing that again if it possibly would end in a miscarriage. So it just feels a little bit exhausting since we like just did this. So I don't know how I feel about recording things, but I want to. My heart wants to. That being said, I really want to celebrate this baby. I don't know if it's just if other people who have gone through pregnancy after loss feel this way. Even I keep saying myself, even if it ends, or if it ends, or I think I'm just preparing for the very worst, because obviously this was a miscarriage was the worst thing in my life I had gone through so far. So I think your mind just wants to prepare obviously for the worst to protect yourself, but I just want to have looked back on this pregnancy regardless and know that we celebrated the life that God started in me, that AJ and I got to make together. It's just a miracle. It's a miracle either way. So I'm really excited to, once we get pregnant, to really just celebrate this baby. It's scary because you can kind of feel stupid in a miscarriage. I feel like, how was I so naive? Like, how did I think that I was so dumb for feeling so joyful and hopeful about that this would work out? But I know that that's not how I want to look at this pregnancy. I don't want to withhold any celebration or hope or joy about getting pregnant. I want to buy baby stuff. We did this with our first pregnancy too. We already bought the crib, we bought the Snuggle Me, we bought some stuffed animals and clothes. I already had a registry. I definitely won't be as over the top as I was with our first baby, but I don't want to stop myself from buying things. I think that just reinforces to me the fear that this might end. I want to keep buying things. In the end, we will end up using it. I don't know how that'll look or how much baby stuff we'll end up buying, but I definitely don't want us to be so in fear that we don't buy any cute baby stuff. I don't want to Google or Reddit everything. Definitely in my first pregnancy, I did this a lot. It was helpful in some ways. It was kind of comforting because it would give me the green light on things or help me avoid certain things, but overall, it wasn't really helpful. I think it just added more stress than I needed and already had. The blessing about, you know, being pregnant again is I already feel calmer going into it. I know what to expect. I've been through this before. I kind of know what my body does in pregnancy and what that's like, where the first time, I mean, I had never ever been pregnant before or gone through anything like that with my body changing so drastically. I feel like it'll be a little bit easier this time to not Google and Reddit everything, partly because I already Googled and Reddited everything that I needed to, but also with spotting or cramping, those type of things just, they're so scary when they happen. I know that especially with now my history with going through a miscarriage is going to be even scarier, but ultimately you can Google and Reddit as much as you want, but it's still not going to change. It's not going to change anything. So, and I definitely know that now. We want to do an ultrasound around the week that my baby died. It died technically at 8 weeks, 6 days, so you know, like 9 weeks. So we want to do an ultrasound around like 9 to 10 weeks. We really weren't too far off with, you know, when we did the ultrasound before, when we found out. We did the ultrasound around like 11 weeks. So we really won't be doing too much differently. I don't want to do one any earlier. I don't want to have a ton or have them really frequently, but I do want to have one around that time just so we can know sooner what's going on, just so we don't feel so, I don't know, like we're living in oblivion. I just want to like know the reality of what happened sooner. I want it to be something that happens to me and not something that I can control. Letting pregnancy happen to me it just feels like it's something that I can't really do much about, which is true. I want that to be my mentality. Alongside, I want to basically pretend that I'm not pregnant at all. I think especially in those first early weeks, I just want to live my life as if I'm not pregnant. I don't know if I'll be able to actually do that because we have been praying and waiting to have a baby for a long time. So I think I'm going to be really, really excited and really hopeful, and like I think my whole world will revolve around that. But I think for my stress and anxiety levels and worry levels, I think it'll be best for me to just pretend that I'm not pregnant, act like pregnancy is something that's happening to me and not something that I need to do, and keep it simple to the things that I can do. My friend Rachel, she brought up, you know, that you can really only eat, sleep, and do activity. That's really like the only things that you can actually do and the rest just happens to you, and there's really nothing you can do about it. So I think I'd rather mentally just pretend like I'm not pregnant and just leave it up to God. I think the more that I feel like I'm controlling the pregnancy, the more that I feel like if it ends in a miscarriage, it's then my fault, and that is not a good place to be. Since it's my second time around, I want to treat it like the first time, except better. Since we get to do this again, there's a lot of things, like I'm mentioning, that we get to do differently, and it feels like we get a second chance at doing it for the first time. I really think for us, this pregnancy is going to feel kind of like the first time. I still wanted to have the hope that it did and that we had for the first time. In a way, I think it even allows us to be even more, to take it out of our hands and put it into the Lord's than the first time, which I think is beautiful. It allows us to really fully surrender this pregnancy, this baby. We just are going to approach it with a lot more open hands than we did the first one. Like I've mentioned, I have vaginismus. I think because of the vaginismus, I really felt like this was something that I had to force or control or work on doing, or like it was really like I had to like work really hard at it. Now I know that that's not how it works. I just have a lot more peace about pregnancy in general, which is weird. Like, you would think that I would have peace the first time around when, you know, nothing bad had happened. All we know is that we're pregnant and this is amazing and everything will probably be fine. But I have a lot more peace now, which is really weird. And I'm just remembering that I didn't really think about this. Sorry, I'm gonna just wait. Okay, we're gonna cut this. I'm just realizing now that our baby's name was Shalom, which means peace. It feels like Shalom brought this peace because I didn't know that that was possible. I think that our miscarriage with Shalom is bringing a peace that I didn't know that could exist, which is so weird. Like, I think it's definitely taking me time to get to this point because I was dreading, you know, being pregnant again, dreading having to work through all the emotions and the fear and anxiety and the stress of now, you know, being pregnant again. But now I don't feel that way. I think, like I said, Shalom has brought peace. I've definitely learned a lot from Shalom and from the Lord, and like I've been telling my family and friends, I've been seeing a lot of how God has already turned a lot of these awful things into blessings and to things that he's been using for his good. It's just a wild thing to see. One of the things or the blessings about our next pregnancy is that I think it'll be covered with more community. I really wanted our first pregnancy for us to be a part of a small group, a church community, but because of the holidays and then by the time it got to winter and we were trying, like, we weren't involved in anything like that. In these past couple months since the miscarriage, we've made a lot of friends and have a lot of community. We still need to be, you know, find our like group, like church group, but we have a lot of solid Christian friends, and we didn't have that with our first pregnancy. So I'm really excited. I feel like this was how I envisioned my, you know, pregnancy looking like just surrounded by community and surrounded by like a family of believers. I really think this next pregnancy is going to be like that, and we're going to need it. It will be our lifeline for sure. So I'm really excited for that because that's how I envisioned what it would look like being pregnant. AJ and I both want it to be a pregnancy cover with prayer. Us as a couple, we really want to prioritize praying together, and especially AJ praying for us and the baby and everything. I don't know how that'll look or what that'll look like if we do it every night before bed or a time in the morning or, you know, on our lunch break or something, but we both agreed that prayer is going to be something that we want this pregnancy to be dependent on. Where we obviously prayed a lot, you know, together during and before we got pregnant before, but it wasn't a routine, it wasn't a rhythm, and it kind of more came up when things got rocky or I got stressed, that type of thing. So I'm really excited to do it over and get a chance to really cover the pregnancy completely with prayer and to do it with AJ. One of the ways that I also want to view our next pregnancy is to view it like I view my friends, because when my friends tell me they're pregnant, I just assume that it's going to end in a baby, a healthy baby, everything's gonna be fine. And when I get pregnant, I want to treat myself like I view my friends. Kind of put that like almost like a distance between me and the baby in a way, where it's almost like it's my friend's baby, if that makes sense. It's easier to like believe for your friend than it is for yourself sometimes, and so I want to have that mentality going into this next pregnancy. Like, this is my friend's baby, it's gonna make it, it's gonna be fine, everything's gonna be fine, like it's just gonna be fine. Seeing some of my friends, honestly a lot of my friends go through pregnancy recently, I want to have the faith for their pregnancies, for my pregnancy too, and I think that just helps me to put it in perspective a little bit better. All of this being said though, I know that being pregnant after a loss is really hard and isn't going to be easy. As much as I can say all these things, I know that I'm not going to be perfect at it, and I am going to be worried, I am going to be stressed, I'm going to be anxious, there are going to be things that are going to freak me out or worry me, and the days are going to be long. All that being said is I want to give myself grace for being worried. It makes sense why I would be worried and stressed about this, and so I don't want to like make myself stressed about being stressed. That's like another big thing for me, is keeping my stress levels low, and I've been trying to work on it for the past, you know, 4 months since the miscarriage. I don't want that to be the song of my pregnancies, is that I'm just stressed all the time and worried. It really is not a good way to live, a good way to be pregnant, a good way to be a mom. But I do want to have grace with myself for that, because it makes sense and it's normal and it's I'm not gonna be perfect at it. I have recently been trying to pick what I worry about, where it feels like in my mind I'm letting myself worry about something even though I'm not really. So basically, like, if there's something small that comes up that I start worrying about, I'm like, is that worth worrying about? Should I pick that? If I only get to pick a couple things to be worried about, is that something worth being worried about? And normally I'm like, no, like that's not worth picking that to worry about. And so it helps with those little things. But with a big picture, big thing, like worrying about if your baby in the next pregnancy is going to make it, those are big things that you're worried about, and that's okay. That's normal. You're human. You're gonna worry about it. But I don't want to worry about it for very long, and I want to give it to God. I've really been focusing on the verse that talks about turning your worries into prayers. So the big picture things that I let myself worry about, or that I pick to worry about, I then turn into prayers. That so far has been helping me. I can't attest to how it works with a pregnancy after a loss, but that's kind of my strategy so far. James 1:5-8 says, if you don't know what you're doing, pray to the Father. He loves to help. You'll get his help and you won't be condescended to when you ask for it. Ask boldly, believingly, without a second thought. People who worry their prayers are like wind-whipped waves. Don't think you're going to get anything from the Master that way. Adrift at sea, keeping all your options open. That verse is very convicting to me because I do tend to worry my prayers. I want to not only turn my worries into prayers, but in faith, fully believe that God can take my worries and take whatever I'm stressed about and actually do something about it. That it's not just me telling him what I'm worried about and like kind of feeling like a little bit better after that. God can literally do whatever he wants, and he can completely change the situation. It also reminds me too that like our battle is not against flesh and blood, but against the spiritual realm. That, you know, Satan would love for me to be in bitterness over my miscarriage. He'd love for me to be stressed over the next pregnancy and mad at God and trying to control it within my own strength, and to just be miserable and to not have God get the glory with the next pregnancy or with the miscarriage. Or the other verse that AJ gave to me is the verse in Matthew 6, I think, that talks about that, look at the birds of the air. Are you not more valuable than they? They don't reap or sow in barns, but the Father knows exactly what they need and feeds them. And that verse always makes me cry. I'm so sorry. It's crazy to me, like when I think about it, you know, like especially after, and this is graphic, so trigger warning, but after miscarrying our baby and seeing the placenta and how large it was, God made that in my body to feed and to provide for our baby growing in me. Like if he provides for the birds, and if he was able to make a placenta that like provided nutrients for our baby, like he can do anything. That's just like crazy to me. It's wild. So that verse is always like very, like puts things in perspective to me, the one about the birds, because I'm just like, oh yeah, if he cares about the birds, he cares about us, he cares about our baby, and he's not going to abandon us. I want to remember these pants. I actually gave them a name, but I might use it for our baby, so I'm not going to tell you what the name is, but they're the blank pants, insert baby's name. These pants I had found at the thrift store right before AJ and I started trying. I saw them and I was like, these are so cute. They looked like something that I would put our little baby in, and they were the first baby item I'd ever bought. This gave me hope in our vaginismus journey, because we had worked for literally 2.5 years to be able to have sex and to try for a baby. And so this helped me in my worrying and stress. I kept remembering the pants, and it just felt like this was something that God put for me as a reminder during that time when we were first trying, that he is going to be faithful and that we are going to have a baby and that, you know, we'll get pregnant. Sure enough, we did. Actually, the day I got the pants was the day that I had a dream, and that's where these pants get their name, is in the dream, because I had a dream, I had a baby girl. I remember I had a dream of actually like pushing her out and everything. Like I gave birth to her and I could feel it. It was an insane dream. I've never had one like that before. I thought I knew what I wanted to name her. It was a name on my actual baby list, but she didn't look like it. She didn't look what I had wanted to name her. And in the dream, I named her something different. When I woke up and I told AJ about it, we both actually really liked the name. That's where the pants get their name. And they just are a reminder that we will have a kid one day, that we'll have a baby one day, we'll have a family one day. Every time I see these pants and think about the pants, I'm just reminded that God is good and that he will provide, and to just have faith. These pants give me hope. I don't think I realized just how much I would need them. I thought I would need them just for trying to conceive and with my vaginismus and everything, but now with going through a miscarriage, I really am clinging on to these pants, believing that a baby one day will be wearing them. I ultimately am really excited about trying again. AJ and I got pregnant on the first try the first time, but that doesn't mean that we'll be able to get pregnant on the first try, so I really am trying to prepare myself for that. And also, I mean, with my vaginismus, it's not always a guarantee that we even are able to try. That's the thing that I truly want and have been learning to surrender in all of this, is that it really is in God's timing, and I want to be fully surrendered to that, that even if my vaginismus, we can't try for another month, and then if, you know, just with how getting pregnant works, we might not get pregnant the next month after that. I'm just trying to, again, hold loosely to this timeline. I just had such a strong timeline for Shalom. I had it all planned out, and with this baby, it really is such a reminder that I don't and I can't, you know. You can only plan so far, and I think it's so beautiful, you know. Like, I really want that. I really want a pregnancy and a life and a heart that is fully surrendered to God's wild and crazy and unpredictable timing. And it's unpredictable in our timing, but to Him it makes perfect sense, and everything's exactly where it's supposed to be. I'm really excited to try again, but I also feel a lot of peace about where we're at right now. It feels really good to just finally feel like we're a little bit normal now. I would love to hear any of your advice or tips or thoughts on trying again or pregnancy after loss. Any recommendation, any verse, please share them below. I also have been thinking about when I want to share online when I'm pregnant. Part of me wants to just share right away. I'm gonna share if we have another miscarriage. I just can't imagine not sharing that. But I also, you know, want to guard our hearts. I don't know, a part of me wants to just share right away and just document the whole journey of what it's like to try again after loss. But then obviously we want to prepare for if the worst does happen again. I just don't know like how we'd feel. So that's something I'm kind of like trying to feel out, and I don't think we'll really know until we're there. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching, but I hope that this helps you even in the season that you're in, or if you are going through something like this. I feel for you. I'm right here with you. I'm going to let you go, but I will see you in the next laundry chat very soon. Love you guys.